Hello, this message from my nonprofit, the Degenerative Retinoschisis Society, is very important for you because what happened to me when my rights to a valid informed consent, my rights to patient autonomy were violated, what happened to me when a doctor coerced me into a retinal detachment surgery I wouldn't have accepted if he had given me my retinoschisis diagnosis instead of hiding it in the medical records. This can happen to you too. This doctor wrote more than 5 diseases to the medical records and did not disclose to me verbally any of them. I never selected that doctor. He was brought in, and I was not pleased, by a cornea doctor while I was doing a cornea cross-linking in a hospital. The cornea doctor said, Louis, there's something in your retina that I want you to check. He didn't tell me what, but 3 years later, I knew that he wrote to the medical record retinoschisis. So when the retina doctor checked my retina, I asked, what did you find? He said, it's hard to explain. You have these splits and these holes. Sometimes something happens, sometimes nothing happens. But when it happens, if your macula comes off, when your macula comes off, he never told me that the probability of something happening was nearly zero, and the probability of nothing happening was almost always. So his face and demeanor sent me home terrorized for the next 3 years, and I never knew that his "it's hard to explain" was easily written in the medical record as retinoschisis state. I'm so terrorized that he wants to see me in a month, and I come back almost 2 years later, and I spend those 2 years, and the next year later, almost 3 years, terrorized just waiting for that retinal detachment that the doctor put in my head that it would happen. Then one day, it happened what was supposed to happen with retinoschisis. I changed my optometrist, and the new optometrist wants me to wants to check my retina. I say, yeah, there's a doctor checking it. When she checks my retina, she panics and confuses my retinoschisis with vitreous hemorrhage. She sends me to the specialist with a panic note, vitreous hemorrhage. So I say, the day finally has come. I go to the retina doctor, and he invalidates the note from the optometrist. He says, it is not blood, it is worse. I think it's detaching. I'm not sure if it requires surgery, but I'll schedule it anyway for Tuesday. I'll tell you Monday. It was a Thursday. I don't know how I dropped that ball. A doctor playing with my eyes, telling me I'm not sure if it requires surgery, but I'll schedule it anyway. I come back on Monday, and he says, yes, it's detaching. We'll have surgery tomorrow. Then we have the surgery, and 2 months later, it fails with something irreversible called proliferative retinopathy, PBR. Then he sends me this text message. Okay, sounds like your macula came off and you have another retinal detachment. I'll discuss it with you further when another doctor confirms it tomorrow. Notice he doesn't send me to emergency, but then he says, we will talk tomorrow if you need emergency surgery on the weekend. I have many friends who can do it at Bass compartment. When I read this message, I say to myself, wow, I think I was at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong doctor. I asked the doctor, can I go to Bascom Emergency? He says no. But terrorized, I went to Bascom and decided to stay there. The doctor will later fix the record and say that he was the one who sent me to Bascom Palmer, but there is no proof that he sent me. And this text message proves that he didn't send me. So at Bascom Palmer, they asked me, why did you have this surgery? And they hint at me to see my records. When I request my medical records from the other doctor, to my surprise, 5 different diseases for both eyes written in the medical records, none of them disclosed to me verbally, including retinoschisis. I knew that my patient right and my patient autonomy, my patient freedom, my right to an informed decision was violated. I set up on a mission to find out all the legal reasons that allowed this doctor to write all my diagnosis to the medical records and not tell me, and all the reasons that allowed him to do this without legal repercussions. And I put them all in my book, Patient Malpractice, which I invite you to read. And from that book, I have it in word format here. This chapter 16, my study, 21 examples of my own patient malpractice. In my book, I recommend you to shift the focus from doctor malpractice to patient malpractice. Read the book. And from that book, I see 5 days before surgery. This is the when he invalidates the note from the optometrist who saw blood, flat, no hemorrhage. And he put here inferior retinoschisis with questionable progression. So instead of saying yes to what I thought was a retinal detachment surgery, I was saying yes to what was written as retinoschisis with questionable progression. You start to see the power of a valid informed consent. And then see his note. Large retinoschisis patch with overlying lattice OD appears a slight bit progressed seen previous photos, suggesting possible combined RDS cases. Patient denies changes in vision. Will rebound Monday to see if changing at all. This proves that he told me, I'm not sure if I require surgery. I'll schedule it for Tuesday, which it was already scheduled. I'll tell you Monday. We'll rebound Monday to see if changing at all. Discuss possible need for surgery, and he understands. Oh, in any eye, no holes, no break, no tears on repeated exam. So while I thought I was saying yes to a retinal detachment surgery, in reality and according to my records, I was saying yes to a possible RD slight bit progress since previous photo with a questionable progression. And this is Abalian. Discuss possible need for surgery, and he understands. A doctor who has been keeping me in the blind for almost 3 years for retinoschisis, for lattice degeneration, for dystrophies, for all these ICD codes, for PBD, is writing here that I understand. And he also writes here a strict retinal detachment precaution already discussed. Keep this in mind. No holes, break, tears in any eye or any RD in any eye. And then let's read a little bit up. Patient reports no curtain and no increased flashes of floaters. I don't understand why he talks about increase when I have never in my life reported a floater or a flash. Never. I have a PVD that I don't know I have, and I don't know how long ago, and I've never seen one floater. There's no medical record before this date showing a floater, and he's talking here increased floater. Now, what do you think it happened 5 days later? We'll rebound Monday to see if changing at all. What do you think it happened on Monday? You guessed. The 47-year-old male presents for evaluation due to possible RD cases. Still, he's talking about possible RD cases. The symptom is constant. Condition is worsening with increased shadow superiority. Increase from where? I mean, did I report a shadow here? He says here, no shadow, and then here, increased shadow. And then the diagnosis. I want you to keep in mind the diagnosis. Inferior retinoschisis with combined retinal detachment, not intramacular. Progression of eschisis are these in previous photo. Then the retinal detachment and the retinal break that he didn't see in 5 days before. You see, no break and no tear. And then suddenly, and without showing any proof, retinal detachment with retinal break. The doctor who has me in the blind about retinoschisis, writing beautiful here, very beautiful. Patient understand and wishes to proceed with surgery. If you have seen my other videos about retinoschisis, you might know by now that according to any buyer, conclusions, it is recommended that in cases of retinoschisis, either without or with breaks, or retinoschisis, even with eschisis detachment, that no surgery be done. And that's why my informed consent was not a valid one, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to prove that my informed consent was not valid. I'm going to try to sue, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life uh, making sure that this doesn't happen to somebody else. The doctor knew that the only way he would coerce me into accepting that surgery was only talking about retinal detachment and never mentioning the word retinoschisis. So I couldn't create retinoschisis.org like I created and read that the conclusion is for retinoschisis, we may conclude that the best management is to do nothing. An appeal, and this is something the doctor did not believe in, an appeal for conservatism is in order because of their propensity not to progress and their frequent tendency actually to regress. And you rushed me to a surgery tomorrow. And then here, through a science teaches us to doubt and in ignorance to refrain. When you said, I'm not sure if you require surgery, but I'll schedule it anyway, you needed to refrain, not to put a surgery for tomorrow. When you said questionable progression, a slight bit, you did a surgery on a slight bit progression, and I can show you here, any buyer. I can show you here, any buyer. This 57-year-old man had not one, not two. Like, I like saying that, like something like LeBron James when he took his talent to South Beach. Three separate asymptomatic schizoid detachment involving in both eyes, no surgery. The doctor said that I had a combined retinoschisis with the retinal detachment because the retinal schisis appears as lack bit progressed since previous photos with a questionable progression. But take a look at the present photo. Other diagnostic text done today. There's no photo there. It doesn't say fundus photo. It says OCT. So he didn't take a present photo. And I'll show you what happened to the previous photo that he mentions here. I'll show you the fate of that previous photo when I requested that photo. First of all, I uh, get a message. Sorry, we don't provide digital photo. And then I push, and then I get this letter. Attached is a copy of the photos you requested from 2012, Mr. Acevedo. We no longer have this camera, so cannot provide you with a digital photo. So there's no proof of his diagnosis of combined retinal detachment with retinoschisis. There's no present photo, it's only an OCT, and there's no previous photo because he lost the camera. I hope that some federal government, some federal investigation can help me recover this lost camera. But even if he can produce what he said was a combined retinoschisis with retinal detachment, take a look what it says here. Combined retinoschisis and retinal detachment involving the fovea managed with observation. This is a detachment that even presented with declined vision, and despite foveal detachment, patients may maintain good vision without surgical intervention. The detachment progressed to involve the fovea and no surgery. And take a look at this one from this excellent doctor. Diagnosis on the line. Mark T. Dunbar. He puts a test. What is the correct diagnosis for this patient? D. combined retinoschisis and retinal detachment. 5. How should the patient be managed? A. Close up, no forgery. So 4D, 5A. Let's see the answer. 4D, 5A. I was not as lucky to have this doctor as my doctor. Let's read the justification for surgery. First of all, see this. Assistant none. That's a mistake I'll never do in my life again. Um, there's no witness there. There's no other specialist that can tell this doctor, hey, why are you doing a surgery on an asymptomatic retinoschisis? It's only him. And then look at the justification. The decision was made to proceed with surgery given loss of vision after full discussion without mentioning retinoschisis. The decision was made to proceed with surgery given loss of vision. I'll show you my loss of vision now. This is my loss of vision. Remember that I said, and it's written in my record, that my vision was better than ever. Take a look. 2012, 2400. Then I do the cross-linking. Then this is 5 days before surgery, 2070 and 2050. And the day that he reports the loss of vision, 2050, 2030. Like God making a miracle, witnessing an injustice about to be committed from 2050 to 2030. And he writes the justification for surgery because loss of vision. And take a look at the note that the doctor sent to the optometrist who sent me with the panic note of vitreous hemorrhage in my eye. As you know, this is a delightful 47, he writes, who presented with combined retinoschisis and retinal detachment. Thank you for allowing me to participate in the care of this wonderful patient. The doctor who violated my informed consent, my right to informed decision, my patient autonomy, the doctor who kept me in the blind with more than 5 diseases, is writing here that I am delightful and that I am a wonderful patient. And now you'll understand why uh, Elizabeth Cohen, who is the senior medical correspondent of CNN, and I would like her to see my work. When she wrote the book, The Empowered Patient, her first chapter, you know you're a good patient when you understand what she meant, because I want to translate it. You know you are a delightful patient when. Follow me in another video where I provide more details about my case and I talk about my change.org petition and my solution to end the problem of medical paternalism in 2018 and the problem of doctors who write and not tell. Thank you.